In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove the A-post panel from the Elan. This is a difficult job, even though there's only 3 fasteners to do. There's 2 bolts that screw down into rubber well nuts that are in here, this area. And there is 1 nut here that you need to separate from a captive stud that is part of the A-post panel. The problem with this is access, and if you've never done this in your car, and if it's never been done, there is a very good chance that rubber nuts have dried out and will be spinning, so you won't actually be able to remove them. If you're lucky enough, your bolts will have undone themselves just enough that you can then wiggle out the A-post panel. If you're not lucky, you may need to actually get a new A-post panel, but I had this issue with the spinning nuts in both sides of the car the first time I did it, and I managed to remove the panels without breaking them, so I reckon you'll be fine, because it's difficult to estimate what you will get, but my car it's not been looked after the best way over the years, so I reckon yours won't be this bad. Anyway, the first thing that I do is to remove the indicator light. I have a video showing this already. Straightforward job, just give it a bit of pressure to the side and try to pull it out, and it just pops by itself. Then just try to feed back the wire till you get to the connector, and this connector looks like you need to pull the tab in to remove it, but actually the tab needs to be pulled out. See if I can show you this. The little tab is here. You need to pull the tab outwards to then separate the 2 parts, even though it looks like it may be one of those that you pull in. So with this done, you can just feed back the wire in, and now you can remove the panel once the nuts are out. So let's get moving to those nuts. Now I'm going to show you how I remove the bolts from underneath, and just keep in mind that if they are kind of seized or anything, this method that I use doesn't work. If they are kind of seized, you're gonna need to use an extension and a ratcheting wrench, but what I use is actually a slightly different approach. I use a ratcheting screwdriver with a 90-degree, or this kind of, it's not 90 degree, but it's almost 90 degrees, or close to 90 degrees actually, and then an extension, and then I have a 10mm socket at the end. And this makes my life a lot easier, because all I have to do is just slot this into place. Then clip it into place there. There. And now, doing this in front of the camera is difficult, obviously, but I just make use of the tools. You don't need to completely remove them, you just need to free them enough so that the A-post panel can then move. So as you can see, this is tricky to do with a set of tools that has been picked after multiple attempts, and you can see that even for the rear one it's a bit of a faff to get there. But of course, since I'm doing this for YouTube, I just make it look easy. But believe me when I say this is a nightmare. As you can see, when you got a wrench sign there, all the movement that you have is this. And because you got an extension, you're gonna have a bit of a wobble as well. It's gonna be a nightmare. And this is all because you can't put anything in here to reach it. So if you haven't done this job in your car, I would suggest that you do this, you fix this rib nuts, roll nuts, rubber nuts, as soon as possible, because the sooner you do it, the easier it will be to do. So I've got these two freed now, and the last thing to do, let's see if I can refocus the camera now. So the nut that sits on the top is here, right behind the bracket that holds the door. So the way to do this, which is practically impossible with the camera filming, it's to close the door slightly, just enough so that you can actually get your spanner there. And I use an open-ended spanner here because there's no way of doing it any other way. And again, all you have to do is just loosen it enough so that the A-post panel can slide off. So now that we have the two bolts loose and that nut also loose, you can see that there's a bit of a wobble here. So all we have to do is just pull out the bottom side of it and then slide down and wiggle a bit as you're sliding down the top. Now there's one thing to note, is that according to the Lotus manual there's two spring nuts in here. I don't really know if all cars have them or not, but my car is definitely missing them. But I will be investigating. And here you can see the tube that comes from the header seal and the nuts here. And the two nuts that hold the clamshell. And there's really nothing else here to look at. But really, it's very, very important to get these replaced as soon as possible, because what happens is that all the water that comes and collects here then just stands here and makes all of this rust. So getting these changed makes sense, especially before they go wrong. And I now use stainless steel fasteners as well, just to make things belt and braces approach. But yeah, that's it for removing the A-post panel. This was a lot quicker than it usually is, because I've messed around with my car for years and I've done this before. Now, actually there's nothing else to say. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to stay in touch and see what happens next around the Elan, subscribe to the channel and click that bell button. It's gonna tell you next time that I upload something. And yeah, I'll see you soon, guys.